Monday morning. It is July 6th. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, and you're watching the Weather Desk. So happy to have you with us on this Monday following our Independence Day as America 250 years celebrated over the weekend. And there were some very hot celebrations across the country. That's one of the things we're going to be talking about. Here are our headlines today. We do have a weather impact alert for potential flooding late afternoon and evening. Some isolated storms with very heavy downpours could create some runoff issues. We're outlook for excessive rainfall here in Hampton Roads. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about severe weather across the United States. I mentioned the celebrations over the weekend. Many areas impacted with very hot conditions, and some other areas with severe storms. Some of the celebrations had to be canceled or schedules modified a little bit with the severe weather. We'll have a wrap up of that and give you the outlook for today. And there are parts of the Commonwealth right here in Virginia that are under an elevated risk for severe storms. We'll talk about other parts of the country that could see some tornadic development. In addition, we have the hottest 4th of July on record for Hampton Roads, and we'll specifically break that down. We'll have an update from Operation Blessing down in Venezuela as they continue to help with the recovery efforts down there. Such a tragic situation as they continue to find more casualties from those horrific earthquakes, and time is really running out on survival and hope down there because it's been so long now, and they're continuing to see the unfortunately the toll, the count of deceased, more. They don't know exactly how many people are missing, but as they continue to go through some of the destruction, they're finding more and more casualties. So a difficult situation down there. The tropical outlook through mid-July, we're going to look ahead, not just for what's happening right now, but we'll get you through the middle of July with some early indications of what may be going on in the tropics. And I've got the week ahead for Hampton Roads as well. So a lot to go over. We're going to start off, though, talking about the flood watch and our weather impact alert. You'll notice the area, the time highlighted, starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon and continuing all the way through midnight, only because that's as long as that flood watch goes. I really think the best chances for the heaviest downpours, the strongest storms, are going to be between 4 and, say, 8:30 or 9. Maybe a few isolated heavy downpours farther inland later in the evening. But this is the time that we're watching, and we do have the potential for heavy thunderstorms, even maybe a severe storm or two. But the threat of potential heavy downpours, that's what's prompting this flood watch, and that's why folks need to stay alert to possible flooding and some gusty winds with some of these storms. These are the specific outlooks with the likelihood of storms. And again, confidence is pretty high that we're going to see the storms developing, at least moderate to high. The tornadic threat and the hail threat are low. That's why you see the green bars here. Not looking like that's going to be an issue. The greatest threat is going to be the locally heavy downpours. Rain is our high threat, and wind is a moderate threat. We do have a level 1 threat across the area for severe storms, but a level 2 threat for excessive rainfall. I can show you right now up around the northern neck, we've got a cell here that's been moving along. Let's take this full, and I'm going to switch over real quick to the live radar, and I'll just talk a little bit more about that cell up there to the southeast of Tappahannock as we get into it. Let's switch over to the live radar, and this is not severe, but you do see some of the areas just north of Saluda approaching Christchurch. We have this cell, Manaskin, I can get it out there just south of Alfonso. They're seeing this as well. Movement has generally been off to the northeast. Not really racing along, though. That's over the last 3 hours. And again, right now, we're looking at this continuing to drift off. Just to give you an indication, some of that heaviest rain coming down at a rate. Right now, it's looking like it's about 1.3, so about 1 1/3 inches per hour there, the rainfall rate. So this is the type of thing we could see, these heavy little cells. Nothing severe out there right now, but later today, I think we could see some stronger storms, especially farther inland. Now, when I came in earlier this morning, we were under a marginal level 1 risk, but this has been added by the Storm Prediction Center, and that includes western parts of the area, Surrey County into western Southampton, Sussex, areas out around Petersburg and Richmond, and just west of Tappahannock, a level 2 threat. It includes Emporia, Roanoke Rapids, South Boston, Farmville, Lynchburg, some of our communities out in central Virginia. Need to be mindful. Again, wind is a concern, not tornadoes, not hail. The flood potential, though, we've got a level 2 here all the way through the metro, and this is where we have our flood watch as well. You can see we have Gates County, Hertford, and Northampton, and then all of southeast Virginia. The eastern shore, not under the flood watch. The Outer Banks and much of northeast North Carolina, not under it as well. But we have to be mindful. We could see some flash flooding later today. Now, for tomorrow, the flood potential level 1 for now, but it's more widespread, and I won't be surprised one bit if tomorrow this isn't upgraded to a level 2 threat, maybe even a little bit higher, because I do think we're going to see more. Right now, we're holding off on the weather impact alert for tomorrow to see if that shifts up or down, but I'd say there's a good chance we'll see it shifting up. We are moderate as far as our flood or our drought situation goes here. So the rain that we get today and over the coming week is going to be a benefit to us. I want to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with all of the weather across the country. It has been so hot, and this has been the big story here, this extremely hot weather through the weekend across the country. So as we take a look, ABC's Morgan Norwood has a closer look.
Severe storms sweeping the nation, turning deadly as more than 100 million cope with dangerous record-high temperatures. In Chicago, torrential rain triggering flash flood warnings as storms push through overnight. Drivers stranded on flooded roads.
It's never been this bad. I've been here 32 years.
One woman and her 2 dogs died when a tree fell on her mobile home. In New Jersey's Bergen County, a tree falling on top of this house, causing a fire that destroyed the home in River Edge. In nearby Paramus, trees and power lines knocked down as the storm blew through. In New York City, a tree falling on a subway train in the Bronx, injuring the operator. Her injuries, fortunately, not serious. In Oklahoma, lightning making an appearance during Lawson's City Fireworks Show.
For your safety, all guests must seek shelter.
Thousands attending the Great American State Fair in Washington, D.C. around the National Mall, ordered to evacuate as stormy weather approached. People taking shelter in nearby federal buildings and museums. Nationwide, 140 million were under heat alerts, stretching from the Midwest to the East Coast, setting record highs in more than a dozen cities. In Maryland, extreme heat causing this Metro Rail train to derail. 11 people evacuated from the train, 1 sent to the hospital. And throughout the Northeast, Amtrak canceling dozens of trains and delaying more. The extreme heat causing wires to snag and rails to expand, risking derailment. Service is expected to return to normal today. Philadelphia, the birthplace of the nation, hitting 101 degrees. And if you're wondering, back on July 4th, 1776, Thomas Jefferson recorded a high temperature of just 76 degrees in this weather log. Using a thermometer, the founding father bought that very same day of our nation's birth.
That's really cool. I did not know about 76 for July 4th of 76. All right, let's take a look at what's happening across the country. We do have some unsettled weather. As far as the tornado potential goes today, it's really confined to part of North Dakota and Minnesota. So not a lot of densely populated areas, but Fargo, Grand Forks, down through Fergus Falls, all under that kind of elevated risk for tornadoes. Could see some winds. That's going to be the primary concern, as I mentioned, across Hampton Roads and areas out to the west. But off to the north, there could also be some hail for these parts of the country, Montana into Wyoming, also Arkansas and northern Louisiana. Now, as we take a look at the storm outlook for tomorrow, severe storms potentially across Minnesota back into South Dakota once again. Could see some rougher storms, Dallas back into Louisiana, and we're still looking at potential strong storms across Virginia and North Carolina. By Wednesday, the severe weather outlook really confined to the central U.S. from Kansas and Nebraska across Iowa, Minnesota, and into Wisconsin. All right, as we take a look, temperatures so hot today. We've got excessive heat warnings out for the southwest U.S. It's going to be very hot here. Couple areas we're watching, Arizona into Southern California. extreme heat warnings up. We've got heat advisories for Southern California, and over here, southern parts of North Carolina and South Carolina also concerned with that. No heat alerts for us, but it was a hot July 4th in Hampton Roads. In fact, we broke a decades-old record. Coming up, just how high the temperatures climbed. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We were just talking about it being such a hot 4th of July across the country. Here in Hampton Roads, the temperatures, well, it broke a decades-old record. Meteorologist Hunter Force has the details.
It was a historic Independence Day across Hampton Roads as Norfolk International Airport reached 100 degrees, making it the hottest July 4th on record. That shattered the previous record of 98 degrees, which had stood since 1997. It also marked the first 100-degree day at the airport in nearly 6 years. The last time temperatures reached the century mark was back in July of 2020, when Norfolk climbed to 102 degrees during a heat wave. That month went on to become the hottest July on record, where we were at 90 degrees or warmer 26 out of 31 days and hit 100+ degrees 5 times. And while it's far too early to know if this July will follow a similar path, it's certainly off to a scorching start. With the combination of intense sunshine, high humidity, and dangerous heat, this 4th of July will be remembered not just for the fireworks, but for the record-breaking temperatures as well. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Hunter Forst.
I can tell you, even early in the morning, it was sweltering. All right, coming up next, help from Virginia on the ground in Venezuela after the country got hit by twin earthquakes. We'll hear from the president of Operation Blessing about what his team is seeing at Ground Zero. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. We're taking a look at earthquake activity this morning. Nothing big going on down across the Caribbean. You can see a little earthquake there close to the tip there around Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, and then Puerto Rico also seeing a little bit of activity. Fortunately, things still much less active down around Venezuela, and that's where we're going to talk right now about Venezuela and the rescue efforts still underway. More than a week after the country got hit by back-to-back earthquakes, so far we know more than 3,000 people have died, but thousands more are still missing. There are local groups on the ground helping out. Operation Blessing from Virginia Beach, volunteers have been helping feed first responders and survivors as they dig through debris. They're also helping provide clean water. We had the opportunity to speak with the president of Operation Blessing on Friday about what his team is seeing at Ground Zero.
It's a devastating scenario. You can't really imagine what we saw when we got there. It looks like these apartment buildings were made out of cardboard and just collapsed on each other. There's concrete, jagged angles, buildings leaning over, windows have been blown out. We've had between 50 and 100 volunteers a day here, young people, older folks as well, Venezuelans who just love their country and love their people and want to serve and give back. And so it's amazing to see that happening. We've actually, believe it or not, had some people who lost homes in the earthquakes who are here volunteering with us. And so I can't even imagine, that idea of having lost everything and just wanting to turn around and pour out and give back anyways. And so that's the heart of these people. And it's been incredible and inspiring to see that. As we've been on the ground handing out meals, there's a sense of gratitude, certainly, but also a heaviness that just kind of sits with everyone. When you've lost loved ones or you're not even certain if your loved one is still alive, there's a weight to that. And so many people are camping out in tents along the street. They're staying up all night or sleeping in their cars, 5, 6, 7 days, waiting for some news of a loved one. And so it is a very interesting scenario to walk in there and be handing out someone a hot meal that they're grateful for, but also know what they're sitting with and how heavy their hearts are.
The president of Operation Blessing expects volunteers to be there on the ground in Venezuela for several months. You can watch our full interview with him on our YouTube page. Virginia Task Force 1 from Fairfax County is also on the ground in Venezuela. For more than a week now, 79 members of the Urban Search and Rescue Team have been going from collapsed building to collapsed building, hoping to find more survivors. Since arriving, they've helped rescue a handful of people from the rubble, including a mother and her 9-month-old baby. All right, we're going to take a live look outside. This is the view from the Jordan Bridge. Right now, the skies are partly sunny. We do have a weather impact alert for Hampton Roads later this afternoon and this evening. I'll have the work week outlook along with that and the tropical update coming up in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. Let's check in on the tropics and the outlook for today. Not just today, but over the coming, say, week to 10 days. Let's take you through the middle part of July. You know, we're getting into that time of year. Now that we're into July, we're starting to see the potential for more activity. Typically June and previous to June, you're just outside of the hurricane season. So not a lot of activity expected, but it starts to build through July and then it really ramps up into August. So what's happening right now? The Gulf is quiet. We had some convection here in the western parts of the Caribbean, but that's faded out as we loop these satellite images. We're still quiet along the southeast U.S. and across the main development region. You're not seeing much here either. Why has it been so quiet? Well, you know, it's early in the season, but we've also seen a lot of this dry Saharan dust blowing in across the main development region. And as we take you through the 14th, 15th of July, there is more of that set to come off the coast of Africa. So there's a very good chance things will continue to be quiet for a while yet. That, and we have that El Nino that continues to strengthen in the eastern Pacific. So we're watching all of this. For now, no tropical activity is expected over the next 7 days, and it may extend beyond that. I think probably through the middle of July, the way things are looking right now. In the eastern Pacific, I'm also happy to tell you that there's nothing out there. You see a little bit of cloud cover down south, but there's nothing developing and nothing is expected there over the next 7 days either. So good news from the National Hurricane Center. Yesterday's high was 97. The record high 98, we missed it by just 1 degree. It was a scorcher, obviously Saturday, as we heard from Hunter Force, 100 degrees. So very out over the weekend. We knew it was coming, but we still had to deal with it. For the year, we are 4.37 inches below average with our departure from normal. That rainfall, it's been dry. We are going to cut into that significantly, I think, over the coming week. Right now, the Thompson Creek Window Company Skyview showing hazy conditions, 84. The dew point's at 72. For today, temperatures lower to mid-90s. We're going to see chances for storms this afternoon, some with locally heavy downpours. Feels like temperatures up around 99 by midday, 100 to 105 through the afternoon, and then a little cooler as we get some of those storms developing later on. 10-day temperature trend, we're going to see temperatures calming down a little bit. I think low 90s or right around 90 on Tuesday. This model calling for low to mid 80s on Wednesday with some rain. I think it's going to be more like maybe mid to upper 80s. But bottom line is this is going to be our coolest day for this week, and then into next week, maybe a little more relief. So we'll look forward to that. We also have chances for more unsettled weather. So we'll pick up our futurecast. This is the HER model, and what's going to happen is we're going to get some storms popping up later this afternoon. These are going to be heavy rainmakers, potential for excessive rainfall. And I think in this case, we're going to see storms develop. There's going to be some outflow, maybe some gusty winds that could then spark other storms. Like watch this cell here around 6:30. And again, it's not a guarantee it'll be here as opposed to up in the peninsula or farther south. But you get a cell like that developing, it creates outflow, and then you could see additional storms maybe develop down south of that, or some of the outflow boundary around it spreading out. So we're going to see some of that into the evening, and I think Tim and Evan are going to be busy watching that. I'll remind you to have that 13 News Now mobile app with you so you can track their coverage if you're away from the TV. Things will eventually settle out. Tomorrow morning we should be in good shape, but more storms, and I think even more widespread activity, especially around the metro and the south side late tomorrow and tomorrow evening. More heavy rain out towards I-95. It's kind of winding down as we go overnight and into Wednesday. All right, you can see again, things fairly quiet right now with that sky view. Those dew points in the 70s. It's going to continue to be excessively humid for most of the week, and then into next week, hopefully a little break with some drier air. We'll look forward to that. If you're going to beat the heat by heading to the beaches, today we're going to see temperatures pretty close to 90, decent amount of sunshine early on, chances for storms late. Out on the water, things also looking pretty good for now. You will see that chance for storms, so monitor your weather conditions, check for updates before heading out, and just know if you get thunderstorms, conditions will be much worse around those storms, again with the gusty outflow. All right, temps a little cooler by Wednesday, warming up again Friday, and then into the weekend. Still some unsettled weather. Things should be drier as we get into next week. We'll look forward to that. Want to remind you, you can always stay in touch with our 13 News Now forecast by downloading our app. There's the QR code. Scan that. The app is free, and it'll keep you updated on news, weather, and traffic. Thanks so much for joining us from the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We'll see you next time.